Good morning and good day to you, students. Professor Demola Chinadi. Course today was 306. The course title Organizational Behavior. The 3-unit course. The lecturer in charge is Dr. Olodeji Balola. I'm just standing in for him for this introductory class. Successive classes will be interacting with you. And in this course, we have the lead teacher, the lead lecturer, the lecturer in charge, and who is Dr. Ayodeji Obodola, as I said earlier. And we have a teaching assistant who will be coordinating with him. The purpose of structuring this course this way is to make it very flexible for our students and to make it a rich or a rewarding learning experience for them. So I'm just going to delve straight into the introductory class. As you know, the course is the course in the Directorate of Part-Time Studies of Alfred Babalola University. So, Bus 306, Organizational Behavior, is a course that is designed to equip our students with comprehensive understanding of the factors that shape diverse behavior in organizations. You know, in today's world, fast-paced, highly competitive world that we are in, every skill you have, every knowledge you have in your chosen field should give you an advantage. This course, organizational behavior, when you acquire the knowledge and the skills, it gives you an edge, it gives you competitive advantage over other individuals. And if you're a business owner, it gives you competitive advantage over other businesses and business owners. You see, just like we have different people behaving differently, the field of psychology goes, focuses on human behavior, so to say, what shape human behavior and so on and so forth. The same way we have various of different behaviors in organizations. What are the factors responsible for this? Just like psychologists will be interested in learning why do some people behave the way they do? Why do they act the way they do? In order to be able to sometimes influence them for better and probably put them to better use. Same way for a business owner, for business managers, it is important to understand how behaviors of individuals, of organizations are shaped in the workspace and how this influence the way we do our business and how we can influence it to have a better working relationship, to have ultimately better profits and better social impact, as we do our business. Nowadays, it is not only about the financial profit we make. Sometimes corporate organizations are tasked on the social impact they make. So when we understand organizational behavior, we are not only going to be able to improve our profit margin, but also the social impact our organization makes. Also the impact the workplace will make on the people, on the workforce, on the management. You see, human beings will spend, those of us that are working, doing salaried work and so on, that we work in corporate world, in organizations, we spend like 1/3 of our lives, like 8 hours every day, at workplace. Many people bring a lot of baggages from the from the family, from their religious circle, from other spaces they belong to. They bring it to the workplace, and all this affect the dynamics, how things evolve, how things are shaped in the workplace. The knowledge of organizational behavior will help us to be conscious of all these dynamics and to how to now manage things in a way that organizational goals are not frustrated because of how individuals and groups behave in workplace. So the course will explore the individual group, we help students to explore the individual group and organizational levels that offer insights into the factors affecting or influencing behavior, factors affecting or influencing performance and effectiveness of organization in the context of Nigeria. Also helps students perception and learning attitude and approaches of the organization by delving into the psychological, sociological, and managerial perspectives. So as a student of this course, be prepared to study a bit of psychology, sociology, social psychology, and management. Everything will make you a better business person. And the course, as I said earlier, will equip our students with the knowledge and skills that are necessary for effective organizational management, decision making, and leadership and communication. You see, all these are very important in today's organization. The organization you belong to cannot afford, and you as an individual, you cannot afford not to know these things. You will call yourself a business manager, a business owner, someone working in an organization that has either profit or non-profit orientation. You got to know how behavior affects your outcomes and your outputs. So let's take a look at the course outline. Starting the course by looking at certain key concepts that are germane to the course. These are concepts of behavior, organization, managers, administrators, and performers. What do these concepts mean? Also, we look at individual behavioral processes such as personal systems, and self-concepts, developments, and interaction styles. Go further to look at group dynamics, those things that shape group behavior, the informal structures, norm of work, layout, and so on and so forth. We also look at the status-based rewards and punishments in an organization. And we look at the popular concept leadership, how leadership influences task distribution and performance appraisal. Also, we look at some theories of organizational behavior and their relevance to the Nigerian context. And finally, we're looking at various behavioral models. So, having gone through the course outline, let's look at let's delve into the topic of today, which is Introduction to Organizational Behavior. Introduction to Organizational Behavior, looking at the characteristics, elements, and importance of organizational behavior. Okay. The study of human behavior in an organization is known as organizational behavior. In other words, when we study how human beings behave at the individual level and as a group within an organization, that is what we mean by organizational behavior. It is an interdisciplinary body of knowledge with strong ties to behavioral sciences, such as psychology, sociology, and anthropology, And it also has some relevance in applied social sciences like peace and conflict studies, economics, and political science. When we say something is an interdisciplinary body of knowledge, it means that it has connection to other disciplines. In other words, knowledge from these other disciplines enrich this particular field. So there's a kind of intersection in these fields. So organizational behavior is interdisciplinary. In other words, it is not only honed by business administration as a discipline. It's not wholly honed. We find it in psychology, we find it in sociology, we find it in anthropology. So those of you who have some kind of backgrounds in these courses is an advantage. Economics, as political science, peace and conflict, and so on. Because in peace and conflict studies, we study what we call organizational conflicts or workplace conflicts. It's a big subfield of branch in peace studies. So what does it mean again? Organizational behavior means applying and integrating the knowledge of these various fields to achieve a better understanding of human behavior in organizations. The more knowledge, relevant knowledge in this field we have to understand how human being in organization, the better. In other words, when we apply the knowledge of human behavior in organizations, knowledge drawn from different fields, what we are doing is organizational behavior. What we are learning is organizational behavior. So when we understand organizational behavior, it allows business owners, managers, administrators to be able to better manage employees' relationship. It also helps them to improve job satisfaction and stimulate innovation and creativity. What do we mean by that? You see, sometimes people think working in a great place means earning a fat salary. Not exactly. Working in a great place for most people is working in an environment where they are respected, where they are appreciated, where they are listened to, where they are allowed to be creative, and where they are appropriately rewarded. We see that as people grow older, they find out that having an accommodating working environment is more important to them than having than having fat salary and having fat salary. So sometimes you wonder, why do organizations that pay half of the salary paid by another bigger organization, why do they retain their employees for a long time? It's because somebody in that organization, maybe the business owners or the management, they've been able to create an atmosphere that their employees cherish. You see, it shows that these people have outstanding skills in organizational behavior. Organizational behavior. It will give their employees job satisfaction. So this is what we are learning in this course. How do you create such an environment for your employer, for your own business, if you're a business owner? How do you create an environment where people buy in and want to stay in the organization, and not only want to stay, want to contribute their best to the goals of the organization, to the progress, to the advancement of the organization? That is what organizational behavior is about. That is what understanding and applying your knowledge in organizational behavior is all about. So people's ideas, attitudes, emotions, and actions in the workplace are referred two together as organizational behavior? What's their attitude? What kind of emotions, or what kind of actions, what kind of emotions do they experience in relation to the workplace? In some places, there's some people say, oh, the workplace is toxic. I keep hearing that over and over. Toxic environment. Oh, environment where people can just, I mean, do any kangaroo thing, and then you don't know what hits you from nowhere. Such an environment where there's toxicity, it means some people do not apply their understanding or their knowledge of organizational behavior. And in such toxic environment, you can be sure that the organization productivity will be significantly reduced, both in social impact and profits. So let's look at some terms that are germane to this course. And those terms are organization, concepts, organization, behavior, managers and administrators, performance, and then organizational behavior. So what do we mean by organization? Organization is a group of two or more people working together to achieve a common goal. So anywhere we have two or more people working together to achieve a common goal, that's an organization. It may be a shop where the shop owner and the shopkeeper have the goal of selling their goods to the community, or it could be a multi-million, multi-million-dollar company. It could be a multinational. It is still an organization. So the shop beside your hostel, beside your house, the cafeteria, to the bank, to the energy distribution company, all of them, they are organizations. So an organization is a structured entity which has defined purpose, and it has individuals working together to achieve common goals. So they can be in various forms. Like I said, it could be non-profit, profit-oriented government agencies, corporations, schools, and so on and so forth. So when we study organizational behavior, it involves examining how individuals and groups within these entities interact. How do they interact? Is it toxic? Is it friendly? How do they communicate and contribute to the achievements of organizational objectives? So I repeat, organizational behavior involves examining, assessing how individuals, departments, units, directorates, and so on within this organization, how they interact, how they relate, how they communicate, and how they contribute to the achievements of organizational objectives. We want to bring in the dimension of conflict and peace. We want to see, are they involved in destructive competition? Are they usually, is the organization competitive within or collaborative? Do they work in collaboration, or are they competing against themselves? Stuff like that. Okay, so that is the definition or description of the term organization. Let's look at behavior. Within the context of organizational behavior, what do we mean by behavior? Behavior refers to the actions and reactions of individuals within an organizational setting. It includes a wide range of activities from individual actions to group dynamics. So when we understand behavior, it is very, very crucial, because the behavior in an organization or behaviors in an organization impacts the overall functioning, productivity, and the culture of the workplace. I just talked about organizations that are seen as toxic. The toxic organizations. There are organizations that are seen as um, friendly, Some organizations, they kind of have within themselves structures and processes that are counterproductive, that contradict the overall goal of the organization. And needless to say, it will be difficult for such organizations to achieve its goals. The culture, the workplace culture of that place will be toxic overall. So, who are managers and administrators? These individuals we refer to as managers and the administrator. They play very important roles in organizational behavior. Why? Because managers are responsible for planning, organizing, directing, and controlling resources to achieve organizational goals. Now imagine a situation where managers favor some people at the expense of the other, where managers are perceived as discriminatory, as unfair. It will affect how certain individuals in that organization will behave and how they behave towards achieving the goal of that organization. So managers are responsible for planning, organizing, directing, and controlling resources to achieve organizational goals. Administrators are often found in governmental or educational settings. They oversee policies and processes. Both roles involve dealing with people. Whether you are a manager or an administrator, it involves dealing with people, making decisions, and influencing behavior within the organization. Managers and administrators, they can reward, they have the responsibility to reward what is desirable and to punish what is undesirable behavior in an organization in order to encourage what the organization wants or behaviors that will align with the achievement of the goals of the organization. For instance, a manager or an administrator can reward hard work, diligence by recommending people that it perceives or it sees as hardworking, recommends them for some favors, promotions, bonuses, and so on. That is what administrators and managers do. So when they don't do it in a way that is perceived as fair, it's going to have negative impact on the organizational behavior. So when we understand the principles of organizational behavior, managers and administrators will be able to lead effectively, create positive work environments, and foster employee engagement. You see, it's one thing for employees to show up for work every day. It's another thing for them to be fully engaged in the work. They can come in the morning, clock in, and clock out in the evening, sit at their tables, not say anything, but that does not mean they are giving the organization their full potential. It doesn't mean that. People, when they feel unfairly treated, they can withdraw significant amounts of their capacity, But if an administrator or a manager knows how to create an environment where people will be buying, then they can give their all. The employees can give their all, the staff can give their all. They can even go beyond the call of duty. Okay, what do we mean by performance? Performance in the organizational context refers to the achievement of goals and objectives by individuals, teams, and the organization as a whole. In achieving the overall goal of the organization, in achieving the objectives of the organization, whether short-term, mid-term, or long-term, individuals have a role to play. Teams in units, in departments, they have roles to play, and the organization itself has roles to play. So when individuals achieve their goals and objectives and teams, that is what we call performance. People are performing when they are delivering what they're supposed to deliver within the context of that organization. It is closely tied to individual and collective behavior. That is, performance is closely tied to individual and collective behavior. And the study of organizational behavior examines factors that impact performance. You see, when we do organizational behavior within the context of organizational behavior, we are concerned with factors, those things that impact performance, things like motivation, communication, leadership, and the organizational culture. The organizational culture where staff, where the employee are brought in and they work like they are partners. The organizational culture where staff are like slaves and they work as if they don't have any stake whatsoever in that organization. The more an organization is able to make staff feel that they have a stake in that organization, the more likely such an organization will be able to maximize the potential of its staff, of its workforce. You see, the potential, maximizing the potential of the workforce is not something that any organization can force on people, because you are not really sure of what people are capable of. Only people, only individuals know the resources they have to help further the goal of the organization. So when the organization, when we understand organizational behavior in such a way that we can positively apply it, it is like we be able to create an environment where people will willingly mobilize their resources. When I talk about resources, I'm talking not only in financial terms, but the resources of their being in furthering the goals, the objectives of that organization. So, effective organizational behavior strategies will enhance individual and collective performance, and it will contribute to the overall success of the organization. That is exactly what I was trying to explain. Okay, what do we mean? So far, we've looked at the concepts organization, behavior, administrators and managers, and performance. So we want to look at organizational behavior. It is a field of study that investigates the impact that individuals, groups, and structures have on behavior within the organization, for the goal of applying such knowledge towards improving an organization's effectiveness. So the sole essence or the essence of organizational behavior is to improve the effectiveness of the organization. How do people's behaviors, how do the interaction between individuals, how do structures in the organization, how do they affect behavior within the organization? And how is this impacting on the ability of that organization to achieve its goals? That is organizational behavior. So let's look at the nature of organizational behavior. To understand the nature of organizational behavior, we need to know these things. We need to consider the following. We need to know that organizational behavior is a distinct field of study. excuse me, organizational behavior is a distinct field of study. It has an interdisciplinary orientation, meaning that you can draw knowledge from various fields to understand it. We mentioned the fields where you can draw knowledge from, where it is, it is closely related to psychology, sociology, and so on. Organizational behavior is an applied social science, and it therefore requires applied social science research. Applied social science are disciplines that are interested in changing things, improving lives, and so on and so forth. It's also a normative science, is humanistic and optimistic in its approach. It has humanistic and optimistic approach. So it has humanistic and optimistic approach. It's interested in cause and effects of relationships. What is causing relationships? What effects are the relationships having on other relationships within the organization? It studies individual similarities and differences. Its approach, it has a holistic, that is total system approach, and it involves models for learning, for understanding organizational behavior. It is both a science and as well as an art. So it combines both ideals of natural sciences and of sciences and also of arts. It's a social science basically. It has concern for the environment, since we say it is humanistic. It has concern for the environment, and it is value centered. It has a value orientation. It has a value orientation. By that we mean that it wants to achieve. It is concerned with how things ought to be, not only what is. It is concerned with okay, let me give you an example there. For instance, medicine or medical practice has value orientation. When we go to the hospital, the doctors don't only collect our data and build a theory from the data. They take a temperature, this and that, and say, oh, this man you have malaria fever. You are building a theory from data. But they don't just wave at you. Medical doctor will not wave at you and say, okay, go, I've told you what is going on with you. No, they want to restore you to health. So they make prescriptions for you, for the patient to be restored to health. That is the value. Health is a value in medical practice. So also in organizational behavior, we have value orientation. We want organizations to be effective. We want bad vibes, like people will say, toxicity in organization to be drained off, so that the organization will be able to perform well and achieve these objectives. So it is rational in thinking. In other words, it is objective. It has achievement of a goal at its end. It's not just done for being done sake. Makes objective assessment of situation in order to make gains. Okay, so if we put all this together, this gives us an idea of the nature of this field of study, organizational behavior. Meaning that we are treating it, although we are treating it as a course, is a whole field of study that has all these features. Okay, so let's move on. Why should we understand the concepts in organizational behavior? Why should we understand organizational behavioral concepts? Some of which we have looked at and others we are going to add to it. One, It enhances individual and group productivity. I've said a lot about that. It enhances individual and group productivity. When a staff, an organization is made to understand how how their behavior contributes to the productivity, to the achievement of the goals or otherwise of the organization, I mean, ultimately it helps them, hopefully, to do better or what is required of them. Also, it helps with effective leadership and management. It helps in effective, when we understand the purpose. I mean, when we understand the concepts, not only theoretically, but in an applied environment, when we apply it to the environment, we call that kind of understanding experiential, is experiential applied. We are able to have more effective leadership in management. Also, it helps in adapting to change because organizations, like any human formation, they are dynamic. So when we're able to understand behavior, it helps in navigating change. It helps because change is the only constant in life, and people usually, unfortunately, people resist change. So whether it's change in leadership, change in organizational structure, external factors, and so on and so forth, uh, when we understand behavioral concept in organizational behavior, it helps us to adapt to change. It also helps us to create a positive organizational culture. I can't overstress this. Many organizations, they have negative culture, negative, toxic organizational culture. And that is why many Nigerian organizations are underperforming. Many Nigerian organizations are not achieving up to 50% of what they are capable of. Not that their staffs are not qualified, not that they don't have enough resources as an organization, not that their brand is not well recognized, but just because their organizational behavior is toxic, their organizational culture is toxic. And the toxicity might have been caused inadvertently by the carelessness of some people. Some people that just felt that positive organizational culture is natural, nothing can be further from the truth. So people have this notion, this naive notion that if you hire good hands, if you bring skilled people and good people together, the organization will be good. The organization will have good culture. It is not true. You can bring saints together, bring Saint Peter, Saint Paul, Saint this and Saint James, Saint John, bring all of them together in an organization. If we don't consciously put structures and processes in place that will foster positive organizational culture, which starts with understanding organizational behavior, we may end up creating antichrist, enemies, half enemies between St. Peter and St. Paul, between St. John and St. James, anytime they are within the organization. And unfortunately, enmity in the workplace usually carry over outside workplaces. There are people who came into organizations, good people, but the environment, the culture of the organization has turned them to the worst of enemies. But you going through this course, you should be able to prevent such from happening. Unfortunately, currently, many people manning our human resources departments, many administrators, many managers, they don't know about organizational behavior. And we are wreaking havoc within the organization. As you are students, you hope that going through this course, you'll be able to change that narrative. Also, it helps us in addressing challenges and conflicts. I said earlier, there is no way you put two or three people together and they will not have conflict. As a conflict expert, I tell you for free, they having conflict is not a sign of weakness or anything terrible or people from the village. No, it's just natural because we have differences. We have differences and we're coming from different backgrounds. So when managers know the concepts, the principles, the theories, the practice of organizational behavior, they are better equipped. Managers and administrators, they are better equipped with tools to identify and address various challenges and conflicts. Managers and administrators will be able to manage diversity, will be able to resolve interpersonal conflicts. You see, many times what reduces or what makes an organizational culture toxic is only minor interpersonal conflicts, and it significantly reduces the capacity of an organization to deliver on its mandate. Okay, so let's look at forces or elements of organizational behavior. What are those variables? What are those things that constitute organizational behavior? What are the pillars, as it were? We have people, humans, the most important, the structure, technology, and the environment, the social system in which that organization is immersed. So elements of organizational behavior include people, structure, technology, and environment. Let's look at them one after the other. People, that is the staff or employees, these are the organization's internal and social system that is made up of. I mean, organization's internal and social system is made up of people. These are individuals, and these individuals are sometimes organized in groups in very big organizations. We have them in departments, in directorates, in units, in teams in an organization. Whether they are large or small, formal or informal, groups might definitely exist. So the staff or employees, they are the most crucial aspect of an organization. The employee and the company, they are inextricably intertwined and will remain so in the future. So personality, perception, attitudes, values, job satisfaction, learning, and motivation are all studied behavioral elements of an individual. People are not machines. They have feelings, they reason, and they have fears, they have anxieties. All these things affect organizational behavior. All these things, they are the constituent parts of the people part of the organization, or the employees part of the organization. Like I said earlier, people come to the workplace with carryovers from home, bad marriages, abuse at home, anxiety, threats, and so on. They bring all this baggage to the workplace. So they are not just staff, they are not like machines. All these things must be put into consideration when we think about the people elements of organizational behavior. The second element is the structure. Structure. Every organization has some structure, whether explicit or implicit, that are in place to guide how people work within that organization. Workplace is a complex place. People have different roles. They must execute different tasks. They have different types of position with different responsibilities within the organization. Different people are doing this responsibility, and all these things are linked together one way or the other. So all these people, in spite of their differences of this or that, must work together. You will say, yes, they have official relationship, but this official relationship has substantial informal part of it. The formal aspects, yes, people are given power and responsibility. When you have a position, this is the superior, this is the superintendent, this is the head of department, this is the executive director, managing director, all these things, regional, all these things come with power, with influence, and with control of all that. So there's formal relationship, but also we have informal relationship, informal interactions. So this is the structure. Each position has privileges, it has responsibilities, it has powers, it has control, and all of them, they have boundaries. They have areas of jurisdictions that they must not go. This is what we refer to as structure. All this structure must work together to make the organization function as a whole, as an entity, working towards common goal. But many times we have, because of toxicity, because of bad application of organizational behavior principles, we have some units working at cross purposes within the same organization, leading to loss of productivity. Okay, technology is application of scientific knowledge to practical use. So organizations usually use technology. In fact, we are in the world of technology now. Technology does not only refer to the physical gadgets, the computer, the internet. Yes, those are part of the technology, but also there are intangible technologies in organizational behavior. So beyond the buildings, machinery, tools, equipment, and other resources, we have other forms of application of scientific knowledge. In fact, like we said, that organizational behavior is a form of is science and an art. The fact that we have studied motivation and we apply motivation in the organization is a form of technology. Though we will not see it, it will not be tangible, it will not be touchable like the computer in front of you, but there are certain things that the organization must put in place in addition to all the technological gadgets. All these refer to the technology as one of the elements of organization behavior. The kind of technology that an organization employs is determined largely by the nature of the organization, and the technology they employ has an impact on the work and the working conditions. So what I'm saying to us as students is that when we think about technology in organizational behavior context, let us think not only about the gadget, the physical gadgets. Anytime an organization applies scientific knowledge to how it does things, that is technology. Sometimes, a few decades, maybe a decade or two ago, this idea of having team lead, this one, that one, in organization, came into Nigeria, and it's a technology. It's a kind of technology because I think studies show that when people are closer to their leaders, when people operate in small teams, it leads more, it increases the productivity of an organization. I mean, such ideas have been practiced in organization. I mean, these high tech organizations like Google, like Yahoo, like I mean, Purple, you see, you have small things. That idea is technology because it's a product of science. And that knowledge, scientific knowledge, was put to practical use. Technology. So think beyond just the physical. Don't think about the technology. I mean, technology as an element of organizational behavior. So let's look at the environment and social system. The work environment and the extent to which the organization can operate are determined by the social system. No organization can function without the support of society. Every organization functions within one society or the other, within one cultural setting or the other. So every business operates within a certain internal and external environment. The internal environment of a firm can be defined as the conditions, these are the conditions, factors, and aspects that impact the organization's actions, decisions, and in particular, employee behavior. However, whereas the external environment refers to external elements that affect a company's ability to operate. Employee morale, cultural changes, and financial changes or challenges are examples of internal environmental factors, while political factors, economic changes, and the industry itself are examples of external environment or environmental factors. Okay, why do we need to study organizational behavior? One, it promotes understanding the relationship between organization and its employees. Two, it enables improvement on industrial relations and employee motivation. Three, it sharpens and refines decisions and actions in workplaces. Four, it promotes organizational and individual effectiveness. Five, it encourages interpersonal and communication skills. Six, it helps in the understanding of individual and group behaviors. Seven, it boosts the understanding of emphasis on intellectual capital as represented by the sum total of knowledge, expertise, and dedication of organizations' workforce. Eight, it's highly required in this age of high technology. People are the indispensable human resources whose knowledge and performance advance the organization's goals, mission, and strategies. And it helps in predicting certain behavioral responses and change. So what this means is that as you study this course, as you go in this course, you have to have this at the back of your mind. This should motivate you and this should guide your learning. For instance, you ask yourself, as I go in this course, do I better understand the relationship between organization and its employees? Do I understand or am I able to improve? Do I have ideas on how to improve industrial relations and employee motivation? Don't forget, you'll be asking yourself these questions not only as a student, but as a current business owner or potential business owner, or as a staff of an organization. Am I getting, is my decisions and action in workplace being sharpened and refined, and so on and so forth? That's how you track your progress in a course on organizational behavior such as this. So these are your take-homes. Justify with examples why knowledge of organizational behavior is important. Oh, and incidentally, that is the last slide we looked at, just did now. I mean, you just have to apply, apply this importance of studying organizational behavior to the present reality. So you need to justify uh, why this course is important to you. Also, explore the cross-cultural influences on organizational behavior in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we have people from different cultures. You know, Nigeria is a diversified, or a country of diversity. How does this play out in organizational behavior in Nigeria? Muslim, Christians, Northerner, Southerner, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Ijo, all working together in organization. I mean, you see that especially in federal agencies, especially in Abuja. You just look at this, look at this. I mean, you see people from the 6 geopolitical regions in a department. And look at their interaction. Sometimes, many times, you see them involving a beautiful atmosphere of mutual respect. So this is what we want to explore, and also investigate how organizational behavior principles contribute to sustainability. Most of these you can search first on YouTube. I'm confident we're going to come up with a number of videos that will help you in these assignments, so to say. So for further study, you can check these materials and these um, YouTube links. I am confident that this will significantly aid your understanding. It will broaden the scope of what we have discussed today. Don't forget, as a student of ABUAD part-time studies, theoretical learning is just the beginning. You've got to apply everything, every theoretical thing we thought you will apply to real life situations. That is when you build the skills. You don't become an expert on organizational behavior by reading alone. Yes, you want to watch videos, and then the knowledge you have gathered in class and in your self-study, you want to apply it in a real life situation. Even if you only have to simulate, you have to simulate. You don't have a practical laboratory like a workplace where you can apply it. Simulation is a powerful way of learning. Even the most powerful militaries in the world, like the United States, they simulate things before they do it actually. And when they simulate, it helps it helps them in the actual performance. NASA, when they were going to the moon, or anytime they're going for space journeys, exploration, they do simulation for months, sometimes years. They simulate the environment of the planet they are going to, or the satellite they are going to, so that when they actually get there, it's easier to practicalize. It is easier to act it out. You see, so simulation is a very strong way of learning. Neuroscience have taught us that when we learn new things, new neurons are developed in our brains. So when we learn through simulation, after the theoretical background, theoretical foundation, you now simulate. You are approximating reality. When you're able to do that, new neurons are developed in your brains, which makes it easier for you to demonstrate your understanding in exams, in continuous assessment tests, and more importantly, in real life situations. So I want to thank you very much for taking time out to listen to this, to watch this video on BOSS uh, 306 organizational behavior. Do not forget, because our lecturer in charge is Dr. Ayodeji Williams Babalola. His teaching assistant, Mr. Dr. Miller. We'll be meeting them very soon, both in person and online. I'm Professor Demola Kiani. Thank you very much for having me. Okay, I should have this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask during the physical class interaction. And you can also post your questions through email to the teaching assistants, and the lecturer in charge, Dr. Aditi Babalola, will answer your questions. Thank you. See you next time.